single message had broken through the jamming. Extraction delayed 12 hours. Then, nothing. Silence. That was the last thing Captain Emory Brooks heard. She was alone. Her radio was dead. Not just failing, actively jammed. Sabotage. Brooks was 30 kilometers deep inside Zone 17. This was not a mistake on the map. This was the neutral zone, a 50-kilometer strip of ground claimed by no one, controlled only by firepower. It didn't exist on any official document. It was a lawless frontier, the most dangerous place on the continent. Brooks was positioned in the ruins of an abandoned checkpoint. She was 29 years old, dark brown hair pulled back tight, hazel eyes constantly scanning the hostile terrain. She gripped her M4A1 carbine. The standard CIA officer carried a concealed pistol. Not Brooks. She demanded the automatic rifle. She was not a standard CIA officer. Her file read, Intelligence Analyst. The file was wrong. Before the agency, she was Army Military Intelligence. She had completed the most brutal course in the American military. She was a graduate of Ranger School. She was a warrior. Her mission was intelligence collection, observe and document weapons trafficking routes, low-profile reconnaissance. That mission was now over. Protocol demanded she move to her alternate rally point, lay low, stay hidden, wait for the rescheduled extraction. Then she saw them. Movement on the horizon. Not militia, not troops. 20 civilians, refugees, mostly women, children, and elderly men. They were moving across the scorched earth. They were heading directly toward what she had just identified. An ambush. They were walking straight into a massacre. Protocol said, avoid all civilian contact, maintain cover, complete the mission. Her conscience said, fight. For the next 5 days, one woman stood in the breach. She turned the neutral zone into her personal battlefield. They sent a rescue team for a stranded spy. What SEAL Team 7 found was a ghost who had just eliminated 48 hostile fighters. They came looking for an analyst. They found a nightmare. Zone 17 was a graveyard of broken laws. It was a gray zone between 3 hostile nations. International law meant nothing here. Survival depended entirely on your weapon and your skill. Emory Brooks had been operating there for 68 hours when her satellite comms died. She was certain it was electronic interference, not accidental. Someone knew she was here. The threat level immediately went to critical. Her father had taught her to shoot at age 8, on a ranch near the Texas-Mexico border. He was a retired Marine Force recon gunnery sergeant. He told her she needed to defend herself. By the time she enlisted, she could outshoot most drill sergeants. Military training had just refined those childhood skills. Her CIA assignment was straightforward. Find the weapons routes. Identify the key players in the regional arms trade. But she had a unique background. She spent 7 years supporting special operations across multiple deployments. She joined the agency specifically because they allowed her to operate independently, in denied areas, places where her tactical training was essential. The M4A1 was her lifeline. She argued successfully that solo operations required serious defensive capability. She was authorized the 5.56 millimeter automatic rifle, semi-automatic for precision, 3-round burst for absolute stopping power. When communications died, Brooks didn't panic. She assessed, 30 kilometers inside the zone. Extraction in 4 hours, 8 kilometers away. Without comms, she couldn't confirm anything. Standard protocols kicked in. Move to the rally point. Hold position. Cycle through alternates. She packed efficiently. 6 30-round magazines, water for 5 days, a trauma kit, encrypted mission documents ready for thermite destruction. She moved using Ranger School tactics, using the terrain for concealment, pausing frequently, maintaining awareness of escape routes. She cleared the checkpoint area. She started moving cross-country toward the extraction point. That's when she saw them. The refugees were a mix of the vulnerable, elderly men, women, small children, fleeing violence behind them, heading toward what they hoped was safety. Brooks immediately recognized the route. They were moving directly toward positions held by the Crimson Brotherhood. The Crimson Brotherhood was a ruthless mercenary militia. They ran weapons. They ran human smuggling. They conducted ethnic cleansing. Former military professionals from the surrounding nations. They were the most dangerous group operating in Zone 17. If the refugees continued, they would be massacred, enslaved, or both. CIA protocol was absolute. Avoid all civilian contact, maintain cover, complete the mission. She had followed those protocols dozens of times, successfully, but watching 20 civilians walk into certain death while she maintained operational security, it wasn't something she could accept. Her father's voice echoed in her head. Some situations require choosing between regulations and what is morally right. She approached carefully. Speaking in Arabic, she knew 6 languages. You're moving toward immediate danger. Armed fighters 2 kilometers ahead. Very dangerous men who will kill everyone. An elderly man who seemed to be the leader studied her. He asked if she was American military. I'm someone who knows you'll be killed if you continue, Brooks replied. There's a safer route west. I can guide you to it. Then continue my mission, the man translated. A young woman holding a small child spoke urgently. Her husband was killed. Her village burned. She asked if Brooks could guide them all the way to safety. Brooks knew the answer. Guiding them would take at least 2 days. It would completely eliminate any chance of making her scheduled extraction. She would be stranded. Her career would be forfeit. But she looked at the frightened faces. Children who had witnessed trauma. I'll guide you to safer territory, she said. The decision was made. But we move tactically, quietly, and everyone follows my instructions exactly. Brooks took the point, leading them west, away from the Crimson Brotherhood. They had moved 3 kilometers when she detected the patrol, 6 fighters, armed with AK pattern rifles, moving with tactical discipline. They weren't just patrolling, they were hunting. The lead scout pointed out tracks in the soft ground. The refugees' trail. In 5 minutes, they would discover the hidden civilians. Brooks signaled the refugees to take cover in a shallow depression. She moved quickly to high ground. She had clear observation, perfect fields of fire. She found the patrol leader in her magnified optic. She could engage from her position. But firing would confirm an American presence. It would alert other hostiles. It was the exact thing CA protocols prohibited. The alternative was to remain hidden and hope they missed the refugees. That was unrealistic, given their tracking skills. The decision was finalized when a child began crying softly. The mother's frantic attempts to quiet him failed. The sound carried. Brooks saw the patrol leader's head snap toward the noise. He signaled his team. They had them. No more time for protocol. Brooks switched her M4A1 to 3-round burst, controlled automatic fire, balancing conservation with stopping power. She acquired the target, controlled her breathing. 1,000 hours of practice paid off. She squeezed the trigger smoothly. 3 rounds fired. All 3 impacted center mass. The patrol leader dropped instantly. Brooks was already transitioning. 3 more rounds. The second fighter was eliminated before he could react. The remaining 4 scattered, seeking cover, trying to identify the source of the accurate, devastating fire. They were trained professionals. But Brooks had the edge. Elevation, surprise. American military training that exceeded theirs. The third fighter went down as he sprinted for cover. The fourth fired wildly toward her position. Panic fire. Brooks immediately shifted position. Standard infantry tactic. Avoid return fire at your last location. 3 rounds. Target down. 2 fighters remained. They were trying to coordinate in shouted Russian. Brooks didn't give them the time. She maneuvered to a flanking position, an angle they weren't defending. She engaged both in rapid succession. 3 rounds on the first. Immediate transition. 3 rounds on the second. Both eliminated. The entire engagement lasted less than 2 minutes. 6 hostile fighters eliminated with 18 rounds. She conducted an immediate tactical reload. Then she moved to check the bodies. 6 confirmed dead. No survivors to radio for help. Brooks returned to the refugees. The elderly man looked at her with gratitude mixed with terror. He had just watched this American woman eliminate 6 armed men with terrifying efficiency. "We move immediately," Brooks said calmly. "That patrol was hunting you. There will be others, probably more heavily armed. We need defensible terrain." For the next 6 hours, she led them. Through rocky ground that left minimal tracks. Through stream beds. She chose routes that would challenge any organized pursuit. She found a defensible position in the rocky hills. Excellent observation of all approaches. Multiple escape routes. Natural choke points. She established the refugees in the most protected central area. Then she set up multiple fighting positions, overlapping fields of fire. As darkness fell, she used her night vision. Combat experience told her they would try to locate them under the cover of darkness. They would assume advantage over a minimal refugee group. Around 0200 hours, she detected movement. Approximately 10 fighters. Moving with tactical discipline. What they didn't know was that Brooks had military-grade night vision. It turned darkness into green-tinted daylight. They had only basic commercial equipment. She let them close to 100 meters. Well within effective range, she initiated her ambush. Disciplined automatic fire. It devastated the lead team. They never realized they were under attack from someone who could see them perfectly. The pattern continued for 5 days. The Crimson Brotherhood kept probing, trying to overwhelm her position. Brooks's tactical positioning, professional marksmanship, and night vision allowed her to defeat attacks that should have succeeded through sheer numbers. She was running critically low on ammunition, down to her last magazine, only 40 rounds remaining. The Brotherhood had stopped their direct assaults. They were reassessing their approach. They had lost nearly 50 fighters to a single defender. That's when SEAL Team 7 arrived. Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison had received emergency tasking. Locate and extract a CIA officer stranded in Zone 17. She had missed extraction. No protocols followed, no contact. Morrison briefed his 12-man element, Captain Emory Brooks, intelligence officer, conducting reconnaissance. Senior Chief Marcus Williams studied the maps. "That's a huge area to search, sir. If she's evading, finding one person will be extremely difficult." "She's one of ours," Morrison said simply. "We don't leave people behind." What they didn't know was that Brooks wasn't hiding helplessly. She was conducting an effective defensive campaign, protecting 20 refugees, systematically destroying the forces hunting her. SEAL Team 7 inserted by helicopter, 50 kilometers out. They moved over land, using darkness and tactical expertise to remain undetected. As they entered Zone 17, they found the evidence. Something was terribly wrong. Abandoned militia positions, hasty withdrawal, blood trails, sustained combat debris. "Someone's been fighting serious engagements here," Williams observed. "Recent, professional setup. Western military tactics, defending against attackers." Morrison studied the fighting position carefully. "This doesn't match our briefing." "We were told Captain Brooks is an intelligence analyst. They followed the trail, spent 5.56 millimeter casings, American ammunition, fighting positions that screamed Ranger School techniques, a clear pattern. One person conducting a mobile defense, protecting something. Could this be our CIA officer? Williams asked, doubtfully. Maybe, Morrison said, but it doesn't match the profile we received. On day 4 of the search, they detected active combat, 3 kilometers away, M4 automatic fire, a K-47 return fire, a tactical defensive pattern. That's either our target or another American in trouble, Morrison decided. Move to support. Fast and quiet. They moved toward the combat. They arrived at a ridgeline overlooking the engagement. What they saw made them stop. A woman in tactical gear, conducting textbook-perfect defensive operations. Against 15 Crimson Brotherhood fighters, she was using controlled bursts, engaging with professional discipline, protecting civilians who were sheltered behind her defensive line. That's Captain Brooks, Morrison whispered, and she's definitely not a helpless analyst. That's Ranger School technique. Williams grinned. Sir, she's dominating this fight, outnumbered at least 8-1, and she's controlling the entire engagement. Let's even the odds, Morrison ordered. Designated marksmen engaged the flanks. The assault element prepared to move to her position. SEAL Team 7 opened fire. It was devastating. Their precision caught the Brotherhood in a perfect crossfire. They were focused entirely on Brooks. They had failed to detect the SEALS approach. The militia force was systematically destroyed. Survivors attempting to flee were engaged by SEAL marksmen. 5 minutes, 15 more hostiles eliminated. Morrison led his team to Brooks's position. Weapons lowered, showing friendly intent. Brooks had her M4A1 trained on them until she confirmed they were American. Then she lowered her rifle. SEAL Team 7, she called out. Beautiful sight. Morrison assessed her sophisticated defensive setup. Professional fighting positions, overlapping fire, tactical discipline matching SEAL standards. Captain Brooks, that's me, wasn't expecting SEALS. Williams looked at the extensive battlefield evidence. Ma'am, how long have you been conducting operations? 5 days, Brooks answered, her voice calm. Since communications failed, picked up these refugees heading to extraction. Then things got complicated. Militia's been hunting us continuously. Morrison studied the battlefield. How many hostiles engaged? Around 48 confirmed, maybe more. Couldn't verify some night engagements. The SEALS stared in stunned silence. This CIA officer had killed 48 fighters during 5 days of solo operations while protecting 20 refugees. Williams shook his head with profound respect. Ma'am, you didn't need rescuing. You needed ammo resupply. Brooks smiled slightly. Ammo would have been nice, down to my last magazine, but I appreciate the timing. That assault was getting difficult. Morrison made an immediate decision. New mission. Extract Captain Brooks and all refugees. They established a perimeter. They coordinated for helicopters. Everyone would be evacuated. During the 6-hour wait, Morrison talked with Brooks. Your file says intelligence officer on reconnaissance. Doesn't mention Ranger School or sustained combat operations. Brooks smiled again. The file says intelligence officer because that's accurate. But before CIA, I was Army military intelligence. 7 years, Ranger School, supported special operations across multiple deployments. She explained her choice. When comms died, you conducted active defense protecting refugees instead of hiding. Couldn't watch civilians get massacred, she said. Father was force recon. Taught me sometimes you choose between protocols and what's right. These people needed protection, and I had the capability. Williams asked about her marksmanship. Where'd you learn to shoot like that? Your marksmanship matches SEAL level. Father started teaching me at 8, Texas-Mexico border. Cartel violence made self-defense essential. By enlistment, I outshot the drill sergeants. The Army refined it. I maintained constant practice because I knew I'd operate alone, where defensive capability meant survival. Morrison nodded thoughtfully. After this, I'm recommending CIA officers in denied areas receive SEAL training. What you accomplished is extraordinary. The agency needs your tactical capability as standard. The elderly man approached Brooks before boarding the helicopter. He spoke through an interpreter. You are like the warriors of ancient stories, protecting those who cannot protect themselves. Your father taught you honor. Brooks felt the unexpected emotion. This was why she had risked everything. As the helicopter lifted toward the forward base, Morrison asked the question that had been weighing on him. When you saw those refugees heading toward certain death, knowing helping them would completely compromise your mission and prevent extraction, what made you intervene rather than following CIA protocols? Brooks thought about her father's lessons, the difference between following rules and doing what was right. Lieutenant Commander, I joined the military to serve something bigger than myself. Neither the Army nor the CIA means anything if I become someone who watches innocents walk into a massacre while hiding for operational security. My father taught me honor isn't following regulations. It's choosing right action when the cost is high. Those refugees deserved protection. I had the capability. Everything else was secondary. Morrison smiled with deep respect. That's exactly why SEALs serve. We're putting you in for recognition. 3 months later, her actions had an impact far beyond her classified commendation. Her actions prompted new training programs for intelligence officers. SEAL instructors began teaching defensive tactics and combat decision-making to CIA officers who would operate independently in hostile territories. The program became known informally as the Brooks Protocol. It was a recognition that intelligence officers needed capabilities beyond analysis when operating where defensive skills determined mission success or failure. Years later, speaking to new CIA officers entering the Special Activities Division, Brooks was asked the ultimate question. Knowing what you know now, would you still help the refugees even though it compromised your mission? Brooks smiled. Every single time. The original mission was important, but protecting 20 innocent people from massacre was more important than any intelligence I could gather. Missions can be retasked, intelligence collected by other means. But those specific refugees in that specific situation would have died if I'd chosen mission over morality. So yes, same choice again. Some things matter more than operational success. She continued, I also learned being underestimated can be an operational advantage. The Crimson Brotherhood saw a lone woman and assumed vulnerable prey. They didn't expect Ranger School training. They didn't expect sustained defensive capability. They didn't expect the tactical discipline that turned their hunt into disaster. The refugees Brooks protected were eventually resettled through international programs. Several sent messages of gratitude for the American woman who'd risked everything. 5 years later, the elderly man visited CIA headquarters. He was safely resettled in the United States. I wanted to thank you in person, he said. You gave my people hope when we had none. You showed that not all warriors seek harm. Some defend those who cannot defend themselves. My grandchildren will know your name. Brooks' supervisor appeared at her door. Captain Brooks, I have a new assignment. Solo reconnaissance in denied territory. Dangerous. Critical intelligence value. Exactly the kind of mission where your unique capabilities make you the only officer we'd trust to conduct it successfully. She smiled. I'm interested. When do I leave? Because that's what operators like Emory Brooks did. They went to dangerous places. They accomplished impossible missions. And when circumstances required it, they protected the innocent. She'd been left in Zone 17 with no radio, no support, no extraction. She turned that impossible situation into 5 days of successful operations. She protected 20 refugees. She eliminated dozens of hostiles. She demonstrated that sometimes the person everyone assumes needs rescuing is actually the most capable operator in the entire region. SEAL Team 7 came looking for a helpless CIA officer. They found a warrior who proved that tactical training creates a force multiplication against superior numbers, and that the most dangerous person in any hostile territory is often the one everyone underestimated until the automatic fire from her M4A1 proved those assumptions catastrophically and fatally.